Welcome to another episode of Assess That with Tom and Nat.
And happy Monday, everyone. We hope everyone had a great weekend and that you're all ready for the week ahead. Today, we wanted to offer something gentle, a warm fireside conversation about the small assessment moves that can actually make a really big difference.
And we're calling it the 12 Days of Assessment, 12 tiny gifts you can carry into the new year without adding to your workload. Together, Natalie and I are going to unwrap each one of these with you to hopefully leave you inspired this holiday season.
We'll have to make sure to insert the 12 Days of Christmas song right here, but that's today's plan. Let's get to it.
You know, Natalie, every December, I get this moment. It's usually, late at night or after a session or I'm on a flight home. It's just that moment where everything kind of slows down, the noise drops, the pace softens, and for just a few minutes, there's that stillness, right? That feeling, that stillness in the air.
I know that moment. It's magical in its own quiet way. It's like stepping into an empty classroom after a winter concert or turning off the lights and letting the glow of the holiday tree be enough. Oh, I love that moment. It's the only time of year where teachers get to truly hear their own thoughts again.
And that's when reflection kind of sneaks in. Not the heavy, overwhelming kind, but just those little whispers, hey, I remember that worked really well. Or maybe I want to try this a little differently after the holidays. Or, you know what? I'm really proud of that student. They really came through. Like those moments of reflection.
Totally. So we thought today, why not build an episode right there in the quiet, in that glow, not as a checklist, not as a training session, but truly as a fireside chat, something warm, hopeful, maybe a gentle.
Yeah, a kind of gift giving, if you will.
Yeah.
12 small gifts for teachers, 12 tiny moves that make a big impact.
But we'll unwrap all 12 together slowly, thoughtfully, in the spirit of winter reflection.
So find a warm drink, settle in, and let's begin with day one of the 12 days of Christmas. Day one, is about giving yourself permission to start small. Choose one thing, one assessment habit to shift in the new year. I was with a teacher recently who told me they felt a little overwhelmed. They said, Tom, I feel like I need to fix or change everything. And I said to them, listen, you don't need to change everything. You just need to change something or just make one switch, one hinge that opens the rest of the door.
And sometimes that switch just chooses you. It's that quiet whisper just saying, this isn't working anymore.
Yeah.
This isn't feeling right. Maybe it's switching to feedback before you give the grade or sampling student work instead of marking everything or co-constructing criteria even just once a month or whatever. But one intentional shift is all it takes to lighten your load and to deepen student learning.
Right. It's like lighting a candle in a dark room, right? You don't get fireworks, but what you do get is you get warmth when that one candle is lit in that dark room. You get enough light to see the next steps.
Which brings us to day 2. And day 2 is one of my quiet favorites. We're going to call it the 2-part feedback prompt.
Okay.
So it's just, get ready. It's going to really blow some minds here. Here's what you did well, and here's your next step. That's it. 2 parts.
That's it. That's all it takes. It's the simplicity in that makes it powerful. I think sometimes we think that our feedback or prompts need to be so epic, but the simplicity of that makes it so clear for students what's next. Students trust feedback that's clear, it's predictable. It's not about marking more. It's about saying less, but saying it with more clarity.
And what's beautiful is how it grounds the relationship. Students hear both encouragement and direction. There's no judgment in that feedback whatsoever. So just 2 parts that make feedback actually feel more like support.
Right. That brings us to day 3.
And
you're going to sense a pattern here. That's right, on the 3rd day of assessment.
Assessment, right.
Right. But day 3 comes from years of watching classrooms where one confident student does all of the answering. And you got that 3 kids put their hands up, 1 kid always answers, and the teacher moves on. So on day 3, we're saying, ask 3 students. Ask 3 students the same question, but each in a slightly different way. And by doing so, what you'll see is not 3 answers. You'll start to see a pattern.
I love this one because it actually shifts instruction in real time. If all 3 hesitate, something important. If 2 are close and 1 is way off, that tells the story too.
Right.
3 students, 3 windows into learning.
It's really triangulation, but in the most human or conversational way as possible. So ask 3 students, day 3 of the 12 days of assessment.
Now on the 4th day of assessment, my
teacher gave to me.
It's like,
I don't know.
We didn't plan that
what
one
did we
out.
say? We didn't think that one through.
My pedagogical heart gave to me.
Oh, wow. That's inspiring.
Thank you. Wow.
Yeah.
Show me your nerd without showing.
Right.
But
All
on the
right,
4th day of assessment, it's all about grounding students before they begin. We're going to call this the 4 corners of clarity.
Okay.
I really went top shelf with that one. So it's, what am I aiming for? What does it look like? How will I know I'm getting closer? And what's my first step?
Now, when students know the answer to those 4 things, everything changes, right? Anxiety will start to drop. They understand what they're aiming for, what it looks like, what the criteria is. Quality will start to rise because there, again, is clarity. And the I didn't know what to do moments start to disappear.
Yeah. And it's a quiet act of kindness to give students clarity, not to mention an act of equity.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, day 5. On the 5th day of assessment,
you gotta say it.
What do we call it? The pedagogical...
My pedagogical heart. It's not quite there, folks. We'll get there.
We'll
it needs to
workshop
start with
this
like
a little bit more.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll get it by day 12.
Yeah. Just keep riffing.
Now, we don't mean this in the orthodoxy of what we're going to say, but day 5 is about scaling revision down to something manageable. We're calling it improve by 5%. Now, we don't mean literally a percentage system.
No.
But asking students to revise their work by just quote unquote 5% is the idea of making incremental steps, little changes, moving along that trajectory. It's not about perfection. It's not a total overhaul. It really is just a nudge forward into improving the quality of what they're doing.
5% is just small enough to feel safe, but big enough to matter when you compound it over time.
Yeah.
So it teaches students that growth doesn't require like heroics or a massive overhaul, just small intentional effort.
Right. And it's that whole idea of revision without feeling overwhelmed. And even that little step forward, that 5%, can really transform learning and start to build confidence, and students start to see that they have moved along that pathway. I don't think you always have to make epic leaps and bounds. I think as long as students see that there is this steady improvement, that's where they come around and really realize that things are improving tremendously.
Totally. Which brings us to the 6th day of assessment. My teacher gave to me.
My assessment coach gave to me. I don't know. I think we should stop trying to workshop
let's stop trying to make fetch happen.
Trying to make fetch happen. That's right.
Anywho.
All right, here we go.
Okay, on the 6th day of assessment, it's actually a release.
Yes.
So it's about letting go of the 6 myths that we have inherited about assessment. Things like averaging is the most accurate way to communicate.
Right.
Or giving kids zeros teaches them responsibility, or everything must be graded, or else, or the curve is normal, natural, and we cannot move away from it.
Yeah.
Or rigor just means making things more difficult, not more complex. And finally, that feedback must be elaborate to be valuable.
Those are big ones. And those are, we've inherited those over years and years, if not decades. And letting go of some of those can actually be a little bit emotional in both directions. In some respects, it's really hard to let go of some of the things that have been ingrained. It's not even our individual fault or choice. We've just been conditioned into believing those to be true. And teachers actually, when they use those practices, do feel guilty about having used those practices in the past or even currently using them, but sometimes don't know what to do differently and don't know how to change. But we can't keep carrying the weight of everything that we've inherited over the course of decades. We have to let some of that go.
And again, it's not about shame or guilt. We're not trying to offer that here, but it's just about, if you can open your mind to the possibility that something else other than these myths is true, you'll hold space for it to appear to you. But releasing myths truly does set us free, and it makes space for clarity, for fairness, for hope, for equity. So just hold that space is all we're asking.
Right. Okay. Day 7.
Okay.
Of the 12 days of assessment. I love this one. This one's called the 7-minute rewrite.
Okay.
And to me, it's a beautiful little routine. It asks students to revise just one key aspect of their assignment, one key aspect of their work, and it asks them to set a timer. I think there's something about having, again, a small little increment where time is limited and you're just making one little small change as opposed to feeling like, I got to keep doing more. I got to keep doing more. So 7 minutes will force the focus. Right? Got to focus on one specific aspect. 7 minutes kind of lowers the stakes. Like, this isn't an epic revision. This is one tiny aspect that I'm going to improve in the next 7 minutes. And it does create a little bit of urgency, but I think in a fun way, not in a way that overwhelms students, but it's kind of like, you know, it reminds me of when my kids were little and we did the 10-minute tidy and everyone had jobs to do in 10 minutes. So between my two kids, that's 20 minutes worth of tidying and then another 20 minutes worth of tidying. So together we did 40 minutes worth of cleaning. So it kind of creates a little urgency, but in a fun way, not in a way that's high stakes, but in a way that just kind of reduces that overwhelm and gets them focused and excited.
This is literally how I wrote our book.
Yeah.
I had to put on a timer every day and be like, you know what? The goal is not to be perfect. It's just to fill the time. And before you know it, you start making better and better decisions as the habit builds. But sometimes there is not when you're grading it for something called a mad minute, because that's traumatizing. But if you're just using a timer, students actually enjoy it if it's playful, if it's not for grades. The time boundary gives them permission not to have to fix everything, but just to fix something that matters.
Yeah. And I think, again, I don't want to misunderstand or have people misunderstand this notion of a timer. We're not trying to create pressure. No. We're not trying to overwhelm kids, but it's all in how you present it, right? So if you present it as urgency becomes panic and there's a ton of pressure, that's going to be a counterproductive exercise. But if we can make it fun and exciting, 7 minutes can actually transform an assignment or a demonstration of learning for sure. And it can really help students build confidence because by getting them to focus on the micro, what's one thing I can improve upon, they see that they can improve upon it and continue to move forward.
Yep. So on the 8th day of assessment, pedagogy gave to me, that's a little bit, the 8-minute team calibration.
All right.
So day 8 is going to bring in some community. So we're going to invite you gently to take 8 minutes with a colleague to look at one piece of student evidence and just have a discussion around this prompt. What would you call this and why?
Yeah.
That's it.
What level is it? I mean, I think 8 minutes is short enough to be, realistic. Because a lot of times, again, you and I talk to teams all the time about, hey, we need to calibrate on criteria. And it always inadvertently sometimes gets presented at this epic event where we all have to come with 12 samples and we're going to circle up. And I think sometimes these micro moves are where we actually make a lot of gains. So 8 minutes is short enough to be realistic. And the calibration doesn't need to be formal or intimidating. It just needs to be like, are we on the same page with this assignment? In 8 minutes, you can actually gain as much clarity, maybe even more clarity than an hour-long meeting. So if you and I are just looking at the same student assignment, say, hey, what do you think this is? What level is this? Or what do you think the student's next step is? And you and I are on the same page, we get some verification that we do examine evidence through a similar lens.
Yeah. And this is something we've talked about many times before on this podcast, but this is the heart of professional judgment, which is necessary if we want more accurate and more equitable grades.
Yeah. I mean, there is no, and we've talked about this many times, there is no perfect calculation. Every calculation has a vulnerability or a flaw that's not a 1 in a million. It actually has a fairly common vulnerability, whether it's a mean, median, or a mode, which means professional judgment always has to be a mitigating factor in how we determine grades.
Facts.
Yeah. Day 9.
Day 9.
Here we go. Now, day 9 of the 12 days of assessment is one sentence, 9 words. Okay.
Hit us.
I know this because here is my evidence, right? When students internalize these words, these are 9 words that build agency. I know this because here is my evidence. It'd be like self-assessment or any sort of assertion always has to be backed by evidence. You don't just get to claim, oh, I've improved in this area, because the question would be, what makes you say that? So I know this because here is my evidence are 9 words that build agency, because when students start to internalize those words, I think something's going to shift inside of them.
Yeah, and that they step into agency, which is the purpose of this whole assessment system that we're trying to set up, is not just so that we get better in our practice, which of course is great.
Yeah.
But it's so that we can create the conditions for students to become assessors on their own behalf. That's always what it's
Right.
all been about.
Mm-hmm.
So giving them that sentence to finish routinely can be very powerful.
Yeah.
They stop saying, "No, I think I did okay." And they start saying, "This is where I think I am and I can show you why."
Mm-hmm.
And that doesn't happen overnight. Like, we're not saying this is some magic wand question here. We know it's not a silver bullet. But the more you build that habit and you help them practice and you help them find evidence, analyze evidence, and come to conclusions about it, that's 9 words that can move them from opinion to empowerment.
Yeah. No, it's really that. I want to double tap on the point. Is that how you say it? Double tap?
Yeah, you did it. That's good.
About how this has to be repeated. It doesn't change overnight.
Yeah.
And building this habit isn't something we can just do sporadically. But as you continually bring forth the question of like, how do you know this? Show me the evidence. Students will start to internalize that question, and then we'll start to recognize that they themselves are becoming those assessors that you talked about earlier.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that brings us to the 10th day of assessment pedagogy gave to me. That was fun.
I liked it.
Thank
I liked
you.
it, yeah.
See, I was like, we'll get there by the end. It's
Yeah.
going to come. It'll happen. Okay, so day 10 is actually bringing forth one of my favorite things that I used to employ as a high school English teacher, the 10-second conference.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah, day 10 is one of the fastest, most powerful things we biased believe teachers can do.
Yeah.
But it's a 10-second conference. In 10 seconds, you get beside a student. I think there's a pattern, and that's something I want to mention here. It's really helpful when you're beside a student, not facing them. I don't know why, but I've been doing conferencing for years.
Yeah.
And kids respond differently when you're shoulder to shoulder versus facing them. It feels a little less
There's an
judgmental.
energy there, isn't there?
There is something energetic to that. But anyways, in 10 seconds, you can say, I noticed, you're ready to, you're growing in.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's so simple. And again, I think this is a recurring theme throughout this episode, which is every time we try to do something, we have a tendency to have to make it so epic and monumental instead of just getting to it, because it's 10 seconds of dignity, right?
Yeah.
It's 10 seconds of connection.
Yes.
It's that shoulder to shoulder, side by side energy, then me versus you. And I know that when people sit across from students, they're not making it a me versus you kind of thing, but there can be a different energy when you are beside. I mean, that's the original idea of assessment, was to sit beside, right? The Latin word. So that whole idea of 10 seconds tells the students, I see you, here's what's next, here's what I noticed, all of that. It's the human moment where you really are sitting beside that student and they can feel your energy, that you're there to help them. It doesn't have to be so monumental, just a 10-second conference and a way to sort of shape the emotional landscape of that classroom, which brings us to day 11 of the 12 days of assessment. Now, day 11, little different, is a teacher routine, not a student routine. Okay. Scan 11 pieces of evidence quickly. Okay. We're not marking them. We're just noticing, right? We're scanning 11 pieces of evidence, because by scanning 11 pieces of evidence in a classroom, you're going to start to see a pattern emerge. Sometimes we forget that assessment really is about adequate sampling. We don't always have to have evidence from every single student to recognize a patterns emerging in our classrooms.
Yes.
And so if you have a class of 30, 11 students is just over a third of your students. And that would allow you to recognize patterns and see if there's any trends jumping out immediately.
That is such an important part about not needing to, this has come up a couple times now, but we almost do it to ourselves. Yeah. We make things harder. We just want to burn ourselves out sometimes. So again, it's so simple. It's such a fast way to plan tomorrow's lesson. And one of the best pieces of advice I got as a high school English teacher is read as far as you need to through a stack of essays until you find one thing to teach the class the next day.
Yeah.
It's the most simple, brilliant advice. And put the freaking pen down. Like, don't even tempt yourself. Just put it over there.
Yeah.
But 11 samples tells the story of the whole class, actually more reliably than grading everything and just burning ourselves out for the sake of burnout.
Especially if you're looking at it instructionally. You're looking for patterns, you're looking for common misunderstandings or what's next to teach, right? So it becomes more efficient, especially in the formative realm. Like, this becomes very efficient. 11 scans can save hours of misdirected instruction by just finding that whole pattern, you'll be able to know what to teach the next day.
And with that,
here we are.
We're bringing it home on the 12 days of assessment. On day 12, pedagogy. Okay, I'm going to stop making that happen. On day 12, we're going to talk about 12 notes home of hope. This is something teachers have been doing for years, the idea of sending a positive note home. But this idea of just doing 12, maybe you do it one day, maybe you choose to repeat it a few weeks in the future, and all it is a short email, just a quick email home, tiny voicemail if you're feeling so bold, a quick written comment if you want to send it. Maybe you teach the littles and you want to send it in like an agenda home or something like that. But just something really positive, like nothing critical, nothing about what you need them to change. Parents are used to getting those calls, especially if, you probably know the kids in your contexts we're talking about. Choose those kids and find something really positive to send home. Yeah.
So we're thinking January, right? In January, send 12 positive notes home. Imagine being a parent. You're sort of in the wake of Christmas. You're now into January. The new year has started. The decorations have come down. There's a little bit of that, hangover from Christmas. Now that decorations are gone, everything feels so empty.
Totally.
And out of nowhere comes an email or a message that says, hey, I just wanted you to know that your daughter showed incredible perseverance today. Or I noticed that your son's confidence is growing in how he's learning to, and fill in the blank of whatever they're learning, right? Those types of messages, the impact that those messages have on parents, grandparents or guardians or whomever is the primary caregiver for the child, those types of messages really land well and can be a springboard for some positive conversations around the dinner table where, hey, I got this note from your teacher. Tell me more about that in a positive way. So you're right. There's so often we have all of these great ideas, but we overwhelm ourselves and we forget to do these things. So by finding a pace, so 12 in January, and then maybe it's a different 12 in February, but finding ways to make those positive connections is really positive.
It can change the temperature of the entire year. Honestly, it builds trust, it builds partnership, and it's just going to restore a little bit more calm, which we could all use more of.
Yeah, absolutely. So these 12 moves, of course, aren't demands. They're not required, but they're invitations, right? They're 12 small gifts you can offer yourself and your students.
Yeah. Choose one, choose a few, do them all if you're feeling so bold, but just let them be a little playful, gentle, human, and doable.
Yeah. So as you step into the new year, come January, we hope your practices will feel lighter.
Your clarity feels a little stronger.
And your students feel seen, supported, and hopeful.
From both of us, we hope December gives you the pockets of calm that you greatly deserve, and that these 12 small moves carry you gently toward a hopeful new year. Okay, that's it for this week. We'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode of Assess That.
And don't forget to follow Assess That on Twitter or Instagram. We've got links in the show notes for both of those.
If you have any specific topics you'd like us to talk about, you can DM us on either one of those platforms. Please subscribe, rate, and review this podcast. It really helps us to grow the reach.
And finally, if you like what you're hearing, please keep spreading the word about the podcast to your friends, your colleagues, or on social media. We would really appreciate that.
And remember, assessment isn't just a tool. It's a conversation.
And together, we are here to make it a better one.
See you in 2 weeks, everyone.